In an international security environment described as one of renewed great power competition, the South China Sea (SCS) has emerged as an arena of U.S.-China strategic competition. U.S.-China strategic competition in the SCS forms an element of the Trump administration's more confrontational overall approach toward China, and of the administration's efforts for promoting its construct for the Indo-Pacific region, called the Free and Open Indo-Pacific (FOIP). While China and the United States' significant nuclear forces makes it hard to imagine a future war between them, the possibility of localized military conflicts over the East China Sea, Taiwan, or the South China Sea cannot be ruled out. With the Trump administration's release of the National Security Strategy, National Defense Strategy, and Indo-Pacific Strategy Report, the focus of U.S. security strategy has shifted to great power competition. A confrontational U.S. stance toward China, diverging security interests, and a growing gap between the two countries' security strategies are leading to a gradual deterioration of China-U.S. military relations. Unlike previous ups and downs, this deterioration is likely to lead to ongoing competition or even confrontation in the years ahead. In this context, an effectively managed military-to-military relationship will be the key to preventing crises from escalating into war. China's actions in the SCS in recent years, including extensive island building and base construction activities at sites that it occupies in the Spratly Islands, as well as actions by its maritime forces to assert China's claims against competing claims by regional neighbors such as the Philippines and Vietnam, have heightened concerns among U.S. observers that China is gaining effective control of the SCS, an area of strategic, political, and economic importance to the United States and its allies and partners. Actions by China's maritime forces at the Japan-administered Senkaku Islands in the East China Sea (ECS) are another concern for U.S. observers. Chinese domination of China's near seas region, meaning the SCS and ECS, along with the Yellow Sea, could substantially affect U.S. strategic, political, and economic interests in the Indo-Pacific region and elsewhere. Potential general U.S. goals for U.S.-China strategic competition in the SCS and ECS include but are not necessarily limited to the following: fulfilling U.S. security commitments in the Western Pacific, including treaty commitments to Japan and the Philippines, maintaining and enhancing the U.S.-led security architecture in the Western Pacific, including U.S. security relationships with treaty allies and partner states, maintaining a regional balance of power favorable to the United States and its allies and partners, defending the principle of peaceful resolution of disputes and resisting the emergence of an alternative, might makes right, approach to international affairs, defending the principle of freedom of the seas, also sometimes called freedom of navigation, preventing China from becoming a regional hegemon in East Asia, and pursuing these goals as part of a larger U.S. strategy for competing strategically and managing relations with China. Potential specific U.S. goals for U.S.-China strategic competition in the SCS and ECS include but are not necessarily limited to the following: dissuading China from carrying out additional base construction activities in the SCS, moving additional military personnel, equipment, and supplies to bases at sites that it occupies in the SCS, initiating island building or base construction activities at Scarborough Shoal in the SCS, declaring straight baselines around land features it claims in the SCS, or declaring an Air Defense Identification Zone (ADIZ) over the SCS, and encouraging China to reduce or end operations by its maritime forces at the Senkaku Islands in the ECS, halt actions intended to put pressure against Philippine-occupied sites in the Spratly Islands, provide greater access by Philippine fishermen to waters surrounding Scarborough Shoal or in the Spratly Islands, adopt the U.S. Western definition regarding freedom of the seas, and accept and abide by the July 2016 Tribunal Award in the SCS arbitration case involving the Philippines and China. The Trump administration has taken various actions for competing strategically with China in the SCS and East China Sea. The issue for Congress is whether the Trump administration's strategy for competing strategically with China in the SCS and ECS is appropriate and correctly resourced, and whether Congress should approve, reject, or modify the strategy, the level of resources for implementing it, or both.